Everybody likes a good scary game. Well, maybe not, but most people do. Horror games have a special appeal to them. And in this video today, that's what we're going to be appealing to. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, and today we're going to go over 10 games that are so scary, you might actually think twice before you install them, or at least consider playing them with the lights on. You let me know in the comments what your favorite scary games of all time are. Drop a like. And at number 10, SCP Containment Breach. Now, the mythos of SCP is one of the most famous in internet history. There have been several indie game adaptations of this concept. Perhaps the most famous SCP game is Containment Breach, which was first launched on PC in 2012. It's been updated many times since then, and it even includes an official Steam release. Now, you play as a human test subject in the underground SCP facilities where tons of otherworldly creatures are being held and studied. But there's a twist. A few minutes into the game, there is a containment breach and you have to maneuver the maze-like tunnels of the facilities while also avoiding all the strange creatures that have broken out of their rooms, and they're now roaming around looking for something to kill. SCP Containment Breach is a very faithful adaptation of the lore, while also featuring some interesting gameplay mechanics, like you have a blink meter, forces your character to occasionally blink their eyes, just like in real life, which creates a ton of additional tension because sometimes creatures will move around in those split seconds when you don't have visibility of your surroundings. It's a fun game, and it actually holds up extremely well for being 12 years old. Go give it a try if you haven't. At number 9 today is a game called Pools. You guys have probably heard all the stories of the Backrooms, right? It's a popular internet story with a very good YouTube series based on it, but there's also a PC game inspired by the Backrooms simply titled Pools. It's one of the strangest and scariest games on the market right now. It's not scary in the traditional sense due to the fact that there aren't really any monsters or enemies that hunt you down, but it's scary because it's really surreal. It's like a surreal walking simulator that lets you walk around a bunch of super creepy just environments that they're gonna creep you out. Despite the fact there's no enemies chasing you, Pools manages to make you feel paranoid. Makes you feel claustrophobic in ways that most other games can't. Some people have argued this isn't actually a horror game since you can't die. I would argue it's still much more unsettling than other games in the horror genre, and I figured it was worth a shout out because it perfectly recreates the horror of Backrooms. And speaking of Backrooms, we segue into number 8, The Backrooms, 1998. This is an indie game that is meant to be a direct adaptation of the Backrooms YouTube series and lore. The game is framed as a found footage movie. You play it in first person after accidentally following into the backrooms and then having to figure out how to escape while also keeping yourself in one piece and avoiding the various creatures roaming around the environment. The atmosphere of the Backrooms YouTube series is perfectly recreated here, and the game does a great job at providing an addicting and unsettling survival horror gameplay loop. And it also lets you walk through those spaces that the Backrooms are known for, even when there aren't any monsters around. The environments alone will make you feel very unsettled. And when there is a monster that does show up, you're probably going to have to change your pants. I mean, it's a fantastic game, and the more impressive it gets when you consider the fact it was developed entirely by one person. At number 7 today, Alien Isolation. The popularity of Alien Romulus has influenced a lot of people to look back and go back and play Isolation again, which is a good thing, because this game is one of the best survival horror games ever made. It's a direct sequel to the original Alien movie, has you playing as the daughter of the movie's lone survivor as she responds to her mother's distress signal. However, once you arrive at the signal, you fall into the same game of cat and mouse that your mother was caught in, forces you to sneak around a deserted space station as the bloodthirsty aliens, with phenomenal AI, slink around to rip your head off. The tension of Alien Isolation is incredible. The programming of it's some of the best in gaming history. Those xenomorphs will learn your habits, hiding spots, start to try to get one step ahead of you, forces you to think on your feet and try to outsmart. You have to try to outsmart them. It is a game of cat and mouse. And then they know your tricks. If you've never played Isolation, go give it a try. At number 6, Choo Choo Charles. This is one of those games that probably shouldn't be as scary as it is, but it gets a spot because there's something about it that gets under your skin. It's an open-world horror game where you travel around a creepy map on a train, completing missions for NPCs. You collect resources, nothing too scary there, but every once in a while, you'll be attacked by Charles, who seems to be a giant demonic variant of Thomas the Train or Tank or whatever he is, with a creepy face, mouth full of sharp teeth, and giant spider legs. The goal of the game is to collect 3 special eggs. They'll give you the power you need to face off against Charles in a final boss fight. But at that point, you are completely at the train monster's mercy. You can fight him off if you get some good shots in, but he's going to get you. He's going to get the drop. There's a very good chance he ends you right there. And there's something about the design of Charles that makes him extra unsettling. Maybe it's just me, but I think basing a horror game around a monstrous evil version of Thomas the Tank is not only hilarious, but it's super creepy in practice, and the atmosphere of the map, it contributes to it. Choo Choo Charles seems to be one of those games that people either think is really scary or not scary at all. Now we arrive at the top 5. Amnesia: The Bunker. Now, Amnesia is a franchise that has been extremely up and down throughout the years, but the most recent entry, The Bunker, seems to be the high point. In fact, I've seen people call The Bunker the best game in the Amnesia franchise. I wouldn't quite agree with that one, but I do think it's a fantastic game. It is a must-play for fans of horror games. The game is set during World War I. You play as a French soldier sent out into no man's land to find his missing friend, but you quickly find yourself in an abandoned bunker. He has to explore it, navigate it, and you think it's abandoned, but you'll find out soon there's something down there with you and you can't figure out what it is. Amnesia: The Bunker is an excellent survival horror game with a solid story, some incredible atmospheres. You move from the safe room to safe room, trying to learn about what your missing friend could find and everything. It's good. It's really good. It'll creep you out. At number 4, Resident Evil 7. Despite being a horror franchise, Resident Evil isn't exactly all that scary with most of the games. With that being said, RE7 is terrifying. It's terrifying due to how different it was from the other games. Resident Evil is usually about zombies and weird conspiracies. It can get pretty goofy and explosive at times, which takes away from the horror. RE7, much smaller scale, and tonally more akin to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the original Evil Dead movie, which not only makes it super unique compared to the other RE games, but it also makes it super scary to both newcomers and veterans of the series. He plays a man searching for his missing wife who finds himself trapped on a plantation, crawling with creepy family infected with this bizarre virus and some good old-fashioned Resident Evil monsters that are looking to rip you in half for fun. The slower pace, the smaller scale, it makes it terrifying. The game has sold over 13 million copies as of the recording of this video, which makes it one of the best-selling horror games of all time. Give it a try. It's really, if you never have, it's nothing like the other Resident Evil games. At number 3, Silent Hill 2, the original. It's a work of survival horror art. It was released all the way in 2001. Still has some of the most immersive and creepiest atmosphere in a game ever put, a gaming history, that is. It's one of the most effective and unsettling stories ever put in a horror game. You play as this random dude named James, that's my name, who gets a note from his deceased wife telling him to come to a resort town. But when he gets there, he finds out that it's covered in fog. It's decrepit, crawling with monsters. It's up to you to get to the bottom of what happened to the town, where the note from your wife came from, and what the deal is with the handful of human survivors who are just inexplicably hunkered down in random parts of the town. It's creepy. Some of the best sound design and texture work in gaming history. Again, this game came out in 2001. Still holds up to this day. At number 2, Cry of Fear. Here's an entry for all of you old school PC gamers. Cry of Fear started out as a horror mod for the original Half-Life, but eventually got its own standalone release in 2012, seen as one of the best Half-Life mods ever made. You play as a teenager, walking through a nightmarish recreation of Stockholm, Sweden. Solve puzzles, fight monsters, try to figure out what happened, why. Cry of Fear is not only a really unique overhaul of Half-Life's gameplay mechanics, but it's an extremely effective horror game. There's something about the chunky graphics of Half-Life 1 that make it extra unsettling when the monsters start showing up. The old school visuals, the sound design, it all works perfect. And at number 1 today, the scariest game you should not play with the lights off has to be Amnesia: The Dark Descent. To me, still the most effective horror game ever made. Released in 2010 for the PC, later ported to the consoles, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a first-person survival horror game with atmosphere and fear mechanics that they honestly popularized the idea of horror games where you can't actually fight back against enemies. You play as a guy, wakes up in a massive castle, no idea where he is, why he's there, doesn't have anything with him. You solve puzzles, you explore the castle, you try to avoid insanity by staying in the light and avoiding monsters. But if something starts hunting you down, you'll have to hide for as long as you can. You create this strange game of cat and mouse as you try to stay away from the monsters, hide in the dark, while also keeping yourself from going insane by sitting in the dark for too long. It is masterfully crafted. It is. It's a must-play for anyone who considers themselves a fan of this genre. If you like games like Outlast and Resident Evil 7, you're going to love it. And you have it to thank for, honestly. There you have it. Let me know one scary game that was deserving of the list that didn't make it, and I'll see you soon.